Hello there, everybody. So, day 4 of Power to the P, the month of February dedicated to mindful masturbation and conscious self pleasuring. I'm Darshana Avila, somatic sex and intimacy coach and tantric body worker. And it has been a lot of fun and also a bit of a challenge to be in this commitment. We're only 4 days in of honoring my daily practice and sharing with you. And so today I'm coming to you wet um, and raw and real and fresh. I literally just walked back in my front door and decided I was going to record straight away because I took my practice outdoors today. I woke up very, very early. I often do. And I'm very fortunate to have a really beautiful, super hot tub that I get to soak in, surrounded by a magical little garden and redwood trees. And so I brought myself outdoors in the pre-dawn hours and had a nice cup of tea with me and soaked my body and felt there had been rain overnight, felt the rain just kind of sprinkling down little drops from the trees. And then it was sounds of birds and all these other elements of the natural world that came in to support me in my practice this morning, which I had a bunch of resistance about when I woke up today. I'm tired. I have a really full schedule happening right now. Today will be the second of 3 days of like 8 hours of training that I'm in. And yeah, it just felt really full on, and I wasn't particularly horny. And let me be honest, that's because last night I felt like I really wanted a release. And so I did use my vibrator and watch some porn and just gave myself about 15, 20 minutes of more focused in the way of I knew what the outcome was going to be kind of pleasure. And I made a very conscious choice around that. I debated it. I was like, I know that this is not what I want to focus on during these 30 days. And I chose it anyway. And I want to be really forthcoming with you about that part of my process, because you're likely to come up against similar situations of your own, where maybe you have an idea about what you should be doing. And to really recognize that these shoulds are only ever coming from your own self. And that's not to give you an easy out all the time. It's to invite you into the inquiry of, what are these standards serving? What purpose? Do they help you? Do they support you? Are they bringing you toward a growth edge that is nurturing and that is inspiring and that is in alignment with whatever it is you're choosing for yourself in life? Or are you playing an old pattern over and over and over again and just feeding into that without really considering if it serves you in the here and now? So just a little food for thought. That was a big part of my journaling this morning and my introspection. And so my self-pleasure practice today was a bit different. It consisted of me soaking my whole body deeply in hot water and, as I said, attuning to the natural elements around me. And then I could only sit in this tub for a few minutes at a time. And then I would come outside and feel my feet on the earth, my bare feet on the earth, and all the moisture, because as I said, it had been rainy. Slowly light started coming into the sky, and I sat beneath the trees and began to really consciously breathe through the whole of my body. I watched the steam evaporating off into the cold air and began to breathe in a way that was following the microcosmic orbit. So I started down at my perineum, down at my root, and breathed up the back all the way to my crown, and then exhale down the front right back to that starting point. And I stayed with my breath, and I stayed with a focus on my heart and on my genitals, and just listened in for impulse. At times it was to really just be in stillness and just rest with my hands on my body. At times it was to bring some motion in, some touch. So I ended up doing a few different rounds of full body, like tickle, caress type of touch and more massage, kneading. And I alternated back and forth between soaking in the hot water to warm myself up, coming back out when I got cold, going back in. And I did about 4 rounds of this for over the course of an hour and let my pelvis move, breathed all the way down into my yoni, a lot of gyrating. At some point I stood up and again, bare feet on the earth and went through a shaking practice. And I kept checking in. Does my pussy want me to play with her? Is that what's going to happen today? Because yes, that has come up in the last few days of practice. Like I really have wanted to give attention to genital stimulation. And so I've gone in that direction. And today it just wasn't there for me. So beyond just resting my hands, I had no impulse to really go into more overt stimulation. So it wasn't a lot of sexual energy, but instead that erotic energy, which is simply the life force, the creative pulse that is always flowing through us, that is what makes up the natural world around us. And unfortunately, the reality that we live inside of disconnects us from that a lot, particularly when we're in urban environments with busy schedules and we're exposed to technology and distracted. Very, very distracted from our natural rhythms, it can be harder to really sense into that connection, yet harder is not the same as impossible. So by consciously choosing it and cultivating practices that bring you into a greater place of quiet and stillness so that your authentic movement can arise from there, it's a really beautiful way to approach your practice. And so I was grateful to have this as a touchstone and to know that it doesn't always have to look a particular way. I don't always have to do a particular thing. Sometimes the most valuable, resourceful, nourishing self-pleasuring is just being present with myself and meditating on the existence that I am, the being that I am. So we're getting a little esoteric today. But I invite you to consider that as a tool in your toolkit when you need it. And a great way, if nothing else, to lead into other forms of practice. This is a mindful, meditative way of approaching our masturbation. And so entering in with consciousness, even setting an intention before you begin each round is a great way to have this then serve a higher purpose. I hope that you're enjoying your journey so far. I would really, really love to hear from you. Feel free to email me, message me, comment on the posts. It's very exciting and it's inspiring and it encourages me to keep going when I hear a little bit of what's going on. So thank you to those who've reached my way. I'm wishing you abundant pleasure and I will be back with another video tomorrow. Be well.